Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. And here we find ourselves for the second time this month talking about, and I will be showing you the murder of a protester in Minneapolis. It is Minnesota. It is absolutely incredible that we have got to this stage, or the Americans have got to this stage where this is happening more than once a month. The trigger warning, there are going to be some pretty uncomfortable videos that we're going to look at. We're going to actually see the murder of a human being. Let's have a decent conversation in the live chats. There will probably be people who will try and defend this action from the point of view of ICE. I think it's fairly unjustifiable. But I guess the question is, you know, who are trolls uninterested in trying to find out the truth here, and who are people genuinely interested in good faith dialogue. So we're going to talk about ICE. Now, I had already a video that was chock full of ICE stuff that I was going to do today anyway. I have been busy today, and I think I have norovirus, which is why I haven't been on it this week, and I feel very ill at the moment. So if I suddenly go dark, it's because I've got a bowl down there. But anyway, it's going around the UK at the moment, and my two boys and Helen's granddaughter, little baby, have had it. So it is my time. Okay, we are going to get into looking at what has just taken place yet again in Minneapolis at the hands of some thuggish looking ICE officers who, as we know, aren't likely to be thoroughly trained. They're receiving expedited training, and that's training in scare quotes there. It is not a good mix where you put guns and tear gas and pepper spray and all sorts of different weapons and power into untrained people's hands who are power hungry. And I think what we see here is yet another disaster that has come about from a lack of training and probably some pretty hardcore ideology amongst some of these ICE agents. This is, I mean, there were already huge protests in Minneapolis today, and that's what I was going to talk to you about, because there are loads of other things going on alongside this. So people's homes are being broken into. We have a database being collected of people's details. We have all sorts of really, really bad. You've got children being apprehended, really bad stuff going on. And then this, like, I was going to do a video that was irrespective of what's just happened today. Like, just in this incident, I was going to show you all sorts of stuff that were egregious. I'm going to show you that after we talk about what's happened. I know there's bound to be an awful lot of conversation in the live chat. I'm going to be ill-equipped to deal with it and talk with you, so I'm just going to plow on if you don't mind. Right, let's look at the footage then. In fact, I'm going to put myself to the side today and show this in full screen. This is the original footage that we saw, and no, actually, this is not the original footage. Sorry, there is other footage, lots of other footage that we are going to we're going to look at the other footage first. There is now, so what's happening, there's presently a press conference, I think, going on. Tim Walz is talking about this. There are also lots of people you know, bringing out analyses of the shooting and whatnot. So it is crazy time at the moment, and of course there are going to be lots of people reacting to this in really extreme fashions on both sides. So let's just find, yeah, here it is. We're going to actually look at the video first before then looking at these other analyses. So here it goes. This is the video. As far as I know, I don't know if this has been stopped and adapted, or not adapted, but, you know, edited, not only slowed down in certain parts. But we'll look at the footage that's going on here. I don't know why. Yeah, damn it, I had the wrong video. Oh well, I'll get the original video here. This is the one I was going to show you earlier anyway. There are a gazillion of these presently going on. No, this is a slowed down one. Damn it, Pearce. Sort yourself out. There are just tremendous numbers of videos now out about this. There it is. There we go. So this is the one that people have been sharing initially, So that is looking at a fracas taking place across the road.
Much, man, and they keep pushing people, you know.
One person has been detained here. They're getting pistol whipped. There's violence going on.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Not again! Are you fucking kidding me? That guy's dead.
So this guy was shot multiple times. Let's listen to the number of gunshots.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they?
I'm pretty sure that's about 10 shots coming on. There were 5 really quick shots initially, 1, and then a bunch of shots, and then about another 5 more. So you've got someone who has been basically shot to death whilst being prostrated on the floor. Now there are claims coming out that he had a gun on him, but it was taken off him. There is, I think, concealed carry laws in Minnesota. But of course, he doesn't seem to be posing any threat to the officers, particularly if he has had the gun taken off him. He is subsequently shot. So the man killed by the federal agents in Minneapolis was literally just standing there recording them. Witness video shows him filming, not attacking. Minutes later, he's on the ground being shot. They escalated a camera into a corpse. That's not law enforcement, that's execution. Now, remember, it is not illegal, and DHS re-released their rules around this. It is not illegal to protest, to film. You can even swear at ICE agents. This guy in the cap there that you can see on the left, nothing he is doing is illegal.
Yeah, unroll your windows.
And therefore, it appears that there's absolutely no justification for him to be killed. So here he is. That's the guy that was then wrestled to the ground.
Fuck off!
As you are hearing this guy drive through, as that's happening, he's being wrestled to the ground. So this is the guy here, the man ICE murdered. He's an observer. He is recording. That is not illegal. You can see other protesters there with whistles and whatnot. Again, that is not illegal. Okay, keep in mind that every state has concealed carry in some form, so being armed may not be a sin here. So this is a video that I got mixed up with and shows a slowing down here. So it appears, says this source, from zooming in just moments before ICE and the CBP shoot yet another US citizen, one agent removes the victim's firearm from his waist holster. The victim was unarmed when he was shot multiple times. This is a state execution again. So we've got this slowed down. This one doesn't have sound, as far as I'm aware. So here we have the people, the ICE agents on top of this guy, and it looks like this guy here might well have taken his gun. There you go. So the gun is removed and it's in his right hand there, and that is removed from the guy on the ground, and it's after that happens that the guy is shot. So therefore this man poses absolutely no threat to the officers, and therefore this is, I think, pretty obviously an unjustified shooting of a protester who legally was carrying a firearm. As far as I understand, they've come out and I think said that this guy's a 37-year-old protester who legally had a firearm. He had a firearm license, I believe. So there was nothing untoward. Ryan Macbeth has done an analysis of the gun, which is a Sig Hoyer, is it? Quite a more expensive gun. It's not the gun a petty criminal would have. It's quite a heavy gun as well, especially with all the kind of he's made a bespoke. You can order the gun from the internet and have all sorts of different things on it and whatnot. And I think that's what's happened here. So it's quite a heavy gun, not the sort of one that you would have if you're a petty criminal. This is a guy who, for some reason, did bring a gun to a protest, but arguably not illegally so. He's not committing any crimes. He's wrestled to the floor. Then it looks like they find out he's got a gun on him. Then the guy has the gun taken off him, as far as we can work out. And after he's had the gun taken off him, he is then shot multiple times. And yeah, there's going to be confusion. There are going to be ICE agents who just hear he's got a gun, or whatever. But I'm not sure that still justifies, especially if you're well trained, someone just loading the guy with 10 bullets or near enough. I mean, goodness me, that is just insane overkill. So here's the guy that you can see. I think this is the woman with the pink jacket, is it, that's standing near him in other angles. So he's protesting, he's filming.
Go. What the fuck is wrong with you?
So spraying him with pepper spray already, spraying him with irritants, chemical irritants in the face. He's trying to, I presume, help the person who's on the floor next to him. Look at the guy in green, because I think it's the guy in green. Oh no. Absolutely insane. It's just absolutely insane.
The fuck, people! The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
It's this guy actually that comes, not this guy in green. There's another guy there that comes in and takes his gun off him. So takes his gun off his waist, I believe, there, and then walks away. That's when he's shot. And then he's shot multiple times thereafter.
The fuck did you just do? What the fuck did you just do? What the fuck?
Some people are saying this footage was stolen after by ICE, but it is on drop site news already. And I wonder whether some of this footage is being live dropped just in case they do have their phones taken. It is already just being put into an online safe space for the footage, effectively.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
I really well, this person can just, I presume, F around and find out UK is next. Were you threatening UK with ICE? And that we're next for what? That we should deserve to be shot 10 times because of, I mean, goodness me, what a morally repugnant human being. Okay. Yeah, so you can just go bye-bye because High Carb Jimmy doesn't have a moral leg to stand on. It is clearly just a moral reprobate. But, you know, trolls will be trolls. If you justify this, then you do not live in a free and fair democracy that adheres to the rule of law. You just want authoritarianism where you can just shoot protesters willy-nilly, and that's not the right to protest. That's not the right that your First Amendment goes. Like, if you think it's okay to have the Second Amendment, so the right to bear arms, so the guy has a right to conceal and carry. So I'm sure you'd be in agreement with the Second Amendment, but why not the First Amendment, which is the right to freedom of speech, the right to protest, which the DHS have said very clearly they are allowed to do. They are allowed to protest. They're even allowed to swear at the ICE officers. They're allowed to do all sorts of things, and it is not illegal. And yet this guy's wrestled to the ground and shot almost 10 times. So, you know, in order to say the sort of things, you are a paid up troll. So you're probably just a Russian or just morally, as I said, stunted. Right. So if this man they just killed, he was only filming them and was not the subject of a targeted operation, nor was he trying to massacre agents, as DHS absurdly claims. So we're going to come on to already what has been said by the DHS. But, you know, this is I see this as completely unacceptable, no matter what way you look at this. Like loading bullets into an already dead person just after you've already killed them for something that's completely not illegal. Minneapolis protester, as he's being brutalized by feds, you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to kill me. I've done nothing wrong. My name is Matthew James. I'm a US citizen. You're going to kill me. Is that what you want? And you can hear his wife screaming. This is AP, a 51-year-old man shot and killed by federal officers. So, you know, this appears to be a different incident. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, you're just having so many horrendous incidents happening at the moment. Minneapolis Police Chief O'Hara said the video speaks for itself. We have identified this person, 37-year-old white male, resident of the city. The only interaction that we are aware of with law enforcement has been traffic tickets, and we believe he's a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. So then the understanding here is he does have a permit to carry that gun. He's therefore doing nothing illegal, and he's shot and killed by ICE, what appears to be completely illegally. Now, then DHS has come out, and like they did with Rennie Good when Rennie Good was killed, has defended the killing. So Homeland Security said at 9:05 a.m. Central Time, as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for a violent assault, and an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun seen here, which is a picture of the gun that they then show. I don't know if we've got a picture here, but they include the picture of the gun after it's been taken off him. Now, but he doesn't approach them with it in his hands, which is what you would think if you were reading this, right, without seeing the video. So the idea here is that he's approached them with a gun, but he's approached them and he happens to have a gun on him. The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. I don't think you can see that at all from the video shown. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. So remember, they've brought this out before any investigation's been done. This is a knee-jerk defense that is bastardizing the facts of the matter. And this is completely unacceptable for the Homeland Security. They should at most say, we're looking into what's going on. This is another unfortunate death has happened, but we'll let you know our thoughts later in the day after we have done a thorough investigation, or some such similar thing. But no, they knee-jerk defend the ICE agents here and lie in the process. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Now, I don't think that you can justify that claim from the footage we have seen from multiple angles. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to his subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines and no ID. Not that they would have known that when they shot him multiple times. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. About 200 rioters arrived at the scene and began to obstruct the assault of law enforcement and assault law enforcement on the scene. Crowd control measures were deployed for the safety of the public and law enforcement. The situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. So Ryan Goodman here says DHS once again announces a conclusion within 3 hours without any investigation. Conclusion about federal agents' intent, conclusion about the individual's intent, implicit conclusion about timing of disarming the individual and shooting him. It just is absolutely unacceptable what is being said here by the DHS. Now, we hear from the Associated Press that after the shooting, an angry crowd gathered, as you would expect, and screamed profanities at federal officers, as you would expect, calling them cowards and telling them to go home. One officer responded mockingly as he walked away, telling them boo-hoo. Agents elsewhere shoved a yelling protester into a car. So they're not in the mood to, I think, have any form of sympathy here for the death of a protester. Now, Adam Cochran has done his own analysis, a 12-piece thread here that we're going to look at and see if he's justified in his claim. So frame by frame breakdown of this murder shows ICE is lying. ICE had already disarmed the man before shooting. The man never drew his gun. At the 6-second mark, we see the man's hands on the ground covered in large gloves. His hands are empty, and there is a claim there to that effect. At 15 seconds, one of the agents begins to pistol whip, which we saw the man in the head, showing the orientation of the man's body and how his hands were nowhere near his waist. And again, there is analysis of that here. You can go and work this out for yourself. At 13 seconds, we see the man is on his knees. an officer in a grey jacket is pulling up his shirt. You can see the gun in his waistband at 16 seconds. So this is, I believe, if we can zoom in here, I presume this is your protester there, and that looks like that could be the gun in his waistband at the back of his pair of trousers. And yeah, so an officer in the grey jacket grabs the gun from the waistband at 17 seconds, and by 18 seconds, the officer has the gun in his possession and is walking away. So this obviously happens very quickly, but he has taken the gun off him. So any shots that take place thereafter are not defensive shots. The gun was not in his hand, it was in his waistband. It was behind him in his waistband. He was on his knees, the hands were away from his waistband, and they were pinned down by all accounts. So therefore, the idea that this is defensive action from the ICE agents because they are fearing from their lives simply does not add up. In these video frames, you can see the agent has already disarmed the man and is walking away. So this is the chap that has the gun, takes the gun, and is walking away. And if you remember, it's just at that point that you see the first shots. I'm unsure as to who's doing the shooting in this. I've looked at this video a number of times, and I'm not quite sure who is shooting this guy, but he gets an absolute magazine full, and it seems utterly repugnant. Then we have a second later, as I mentioned, after the man in the grey jacket moves away, is walking away, the officers pull the victims up to his knees. One officer points his gun at the man point blank. So is it this guy with the blue t-shirt underneath his tactical gear? That is a guy that is pointing at him. So he would have had a good view of the guy's back, the gun being pulled away, and then still continues to unload his gun into the guy. So the man is disarmed, his hands are clearly visible, and he has a gun pointed in his face at 19 seconds. With the unarmed man on his knees, the agent pulls the trigger point blank. The officer in the grey jacket looks back in surprise. And the agent who has just shot raises his gun higher at the 20-second mark and shoots again, point blank at an unarmed man on his knees. Then at 21 seconds, we see the shooting officer backs up. The shooting officer, as he backs up, gun still aimed at the man's head. As he now lays flat on the side wall, the agent fires again. He continues to back up and continues firing at the now lifeless, unarmed corpse on the sidewalk, firing at least 2 more shots as he walks backwards. Notice how no other agent has even drawn a weapon because there is no threat, right? So this is completely unjustifiable. So he is the guy that's doing the shooting. That's what I struggled to see previously. The man was disarmed. He was surrounded by officers. They pulled him up to his knees and executed him point blank. The agent fired multiple shots into a dead man while another agent had already walked away with the gun. This was murder. And it was murder that was caught on camera. These untrained ICE goons are the worst America has to offer. They are given a gun and a badge and are being left unchecked. They are executing people in the streets because they think they can act with impunity. And the government lies about it even when we have it on video. The Minneapolis police chief has now confirmed that the victim had a permit to carry. He was a lawful firearm owner. Additional video footage shows the DHS was lying. The victim was not the target of the raid. He did not approach officers gun drawn. He was filming them. ICE has allegedly illegally rounded up witnesses claiming interference. They've told local police department to leave and have taken witnesses to the Whipple building. So they've taken witnesses away. One report claims they were trying to seize phones. The earlier video shows that the man was filming ICE, and it's an ICE officer who makes first contact, getting up to the victim's face and pushing him, which starts the altercation. And more still, the full video shows that the man is filming ICE. The ICE officer engages and shoves the man, pushing him to the sidewalk where the shooting video took place. And then Drop Sight has got the footage from the lady in pink. It clearly shows the man is unarmed, beaten, and not reaching for a weapon. The agent draws his gun in advance and aims it point blank at the man's head, firing a fatal shot. And it gets worse. New footage shows the victim was trying to stand in between ICE and a woman the agent pushed, and then they get pepper sprayed. And that's what I was showing you earlier. So he was trying to drag this woman who got pepper sprayed, like the guy that ended up being shot. So here's a guy, as you can see, is trying to drag. Just trying to see if actually you can see more of it if I go to this. Most of these are in the landscape, in portrait. Sorry, you can see the victim here, who is moving towards the woman who has been pushed by the ICE agent here. Then, as he tries to help her, they both get pepper sprayed, which we saw earlier. And he then, whilst he's being pepper sprayed, tries to drag this woman away, presumably to help her to get her away from there. Absolutely incredible. Once they're on the ground, the agent continues to pepper spray them. As they are coughing and blinded, an agent grabs the man and drags him back into conflict. And here you get the what is being described in the frames here. They wrestle the man to the ground. The shooter has already drawn his lethal firearm. At 59 seconds, he is standing on the same side as a grey jacket officer and sees the officer, his colleague, take the gun, and yet he still unloads into him. Then the victim is dragged to his knees, coughing and rubbing his eyes. The shooter walks around to the other side and shoots him in the head. He knew he was disarmed. They started this fight. They dragged him to this fight, and then they executed him. There you go. End of. And I think that's pretty much an accurate appraisal of what has taken place. Mikhail Jollett here says, a man in the green jacket walks up to the melee. He reaches in, takes the gun from the man on the ground, and calmly walks away with the gun ICE found. This was before the shots were fired, which means the man was unarmed and murdered in the street by ICE. And it's that simple. This is the gun that was found. So it's quite an interesting gun. If you listen to Ryan Macbeth's analysis of this, it'll be a heavy gun. It's got, I think, a laser pointer on the top. It's quite adapted. It's fairly bespoke, but he had the right to carry it. And that is the Second Amendment. So, these are the people that often are clamoring for the Second Amendment. Here's a guy that had a concealed carry, Second Amendment rights being exercised, First Amendment rights being exercised, and yet he ends up being murdered. The Minneapolis PD are now reporting that ICE has taken witnesses from the shooting today to the Whipple Federal Building and ordered the local police to leave the scene immediately. What the hell are they trying to cover up? So local police are now being kicked out of here. So anyway, that has what happened earlier today. This is on the back of huge protests in Minneapolis that were not as a result of that, but were as a result of all sorts of other things that have been going on. So we're going to move from what you've just seen to just get a sense of the huge crowds that have been coming out in a really freezing temperature. Like Minneapolis is bitterly cold right now, by all accounts. And yet there are these huge crowds that are coming out. There is a lot of pushback against ICE because of all the myriad things that they are doing at the moment that we're now going to look into on the back of what we've already seen. So imagine how many more you would have seen out on the streets had this been after the person was shot. So huge crowds. Again, you've got some here. This is a demonstration in Minneapolis. Huge crowds here. So I think there's been a general strike called, is that correct, in Minneapolis, that has led to, huge numbers of people being out on the streets. Right, now we're going to look at a whole bunch of things that are the reason why those people were protesting, because at that stage, I believe the man hadn't been killed, or had he been killed, they wouldn't have known about it. North Minneapolis, Trump's ICE goons tackle, handcuff, take away a child in the freezing cold as he yells to them, he's legal, yo soy legal, like I'm legal. So this is the sort of thing that they're protesting about.
No! No! Stop! Stop! No! What is your name? What is your name?
Do you have a warrant for this arrest?
Do you have a
I'm legal, he says. I'm legal.
Keep blowing your whistle.
So you have the whistles there going from the protester. And then, you know, you have the ensuing interaction here where you've got a child being chased and brought to the ground by this ICE agent. I mean, this kid's going to be like, you know, mentally scarred for an awful long time here. And it's just the officious way that these ICE agents are going about taking kids off the street. You know, they're supposed to be taking the worst of the worst. That's what they said. That's what the website says. dhs.gov/WOW, worst of the worst. Worst of the worst is not a kid that you're chasing down an icy road who's shouting, I'm legal, I'm legal. And then we have masked ICE agents chase a family through the snow. A mother desperately holding a baby in her arms. A terrified child records a scene while hiding in the upstairs room, looking out the window. What has America become? Asks this person. So we have yet another horrible situation.
La migra, la migra, la migra. La migra.
Literally, ICE chasing that woman with a baby in her arms. Worst of the worst. They're chasing the worst of the worst here. I mean, it is so bad. Like this is the stuff I was going to show you previously because I was just so shocked at what's going on. And then they've just shot another person multiple times in the face. You're just like, what the absolute hell is going on here? This kid, I mean, honestly, this is so heartbreaking.
Tell me again what the other player told you during games.
So the goalkeeper in futsal, he said some really bad stuff to me, and it just made me get really emotional. In my game, and I barely get emotional in soccer. And this guy told me I'm an illegal immigrant, even though I was born in America. He said Trump is gonna get me and send me back to where I used to live, and I was born in America. I don't live anywhere else. And then he called me an effing B word, and I just don't get why kids like to say those stuff. It makes me really sad that how they just control their power like that. They think they have power, and it's just not nice.
Sorry, man. Tell me again what the other player told.
So basically, you've got this child who, at a futsal match, which is a form of kind of football with a heavier ball, whatever, it doesn't matter. At a futsal match, was you know, berated by the goalkeeper, even though he's a legal, born in the US citizen and whatnot. Is told that he's an illegal immigrant, and that Trump's going to send me back, so on and so forth. And this is spilling over into just normal everyday life and culture. It is so divisive and so horrible. It just honestly, it breaks my heart to see stuff like that. It really, really does. Will Stansel here says, by the way, all of this, dozens of goons, weapons brandished, massive tear gassing of public space, people beaten in the street, destroying 2 intersections on either side of my neighborhood. Horror all seems to have been to create a distraction to abduct 2 crying teenagers who were here legally. So again, you've got young people being
Total chaos here. Tons of tear gas into the intersection.
Like all of this tear gas, intersections closed off. You got, you've got protesters protesting justifiably at these heavy-handed tactics to get a couple of teenagers who are not illegal, and at least if we're to believe this source. And it's just this kind of stuff is just happening all the time. It's just horrendous. We had, and this is one that's hit the news quite a bit because actually Greg Bovino and I believe JD Vance have talked about this. So as someone says here, referring to the Guardian article, it says ICE detains a 5-year-old Minnesota boy arriving home, say school officials. Superintendent says Liam Ramos and his father were taken into custody while in their driveway and sent to Texas. A regime that finally backs down when confronted by a united Europe is still tough enough to kidnap a 5-year-old after preschool. And this is, caused an awful lot of a ruckus. Here we've got local news reporting on it.
As of today, 4 of our students, our children, have been detained by ICE.
That is a local school superintendent today saying agents have detained several students. Reg Chapman was at the press conference this afternoon. So Reg, sort of hard to hear that.
extremely hard to hear, Aaron. The district says 4 children in Columbia Heights have been detained by ICE. Just yesterday, they say 2 children were detained by ICE, including a 17-year-old on his way to school, taken from his car and taken away. Now, then in the afternoon, a 5-year-old child, Liam Ramos, was taken with his father while in the driveway after just arriving home from his preschool classroom. School officials say the child was used as bait. They say agents made little Liam knock on the door to ask to be let in order to see if anyone else was home.
Why detain a 5-year-old? You can't tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal. 2 weeks ago, a 10-year-old student, 4th grader, was taken by ICE agents on her way to elementary school with her mother. During the arrest, the child called her father on the phone to tell him that ICE agents were bringing her to school. The father immediately came to the school to find that both his daughter and wife had been taken.
Now, school officials say both children and their parent are being held in a detention center in Texas. They say Liam's family is following U.S. legal parameters and has an active asylum case with no order of deportation. The school says the other 2 students, they don't know exactly what happened.
Okay, so you've had a reaction to this. Here's Greg Bovino, who I've talked about before. This is his answer.
And then final question, do you have any moral or ethical qualms about detaining a 5-year-old on his way back from preschool?
Be more specific.
Liam Ramos from the Columbia Heights School District. Do you have any moral or ethical qualms about that?
We conduct legal, ethical, and moral law enforcement missions here in Minneapolis. So as far as what you're saying with that particular individual, you'll have to be more specific because I didn't detain a 5-year-old. And we're going to continue with that law enforcement mission. Oftentimes you will see violent illegal aliens that perhaps do have families. And those violent criminal illegal aliens are going to be arrested. I've got no qualms about making America a safer place when we arrest those illegal aliens.
So Liam Ramos,
go ahead.
Commander Al.
So in other words, no. Do you have any moral or ethical qualms about this? JD Vance then tried to defend this and then lied. I don't have the video here, but just to let you know, he's been fact checked. JD Vance just lied openly about what happened in this case. And it's just outrageous. Now, before I go on to the next section, because my goodness, we are barely scratching the surface here. Jeff Feeder, thanks, Jeff. I know you're a conservative and a supporter of the channel. I know you don't like it when I go off on my liberal rants and whatnot, but murder, come on, JP. As in, you're amazed that I would call this murder. Minneapolis ICE shooting, Fox 9 Minneapolis says a report from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner listed Renee Good's death as a homicide. And if Renee Good's death is listed as a homicide, then I don't know how you can get away without thinking this is a homicide. I don't know why also you would be trying to make this as benign as possible. Like, I don't know what is it about our identitarian politics where you're one side or the other, and if you see something like this, you have to sit and defend somebody who's being robust against immigration. You have to sit and defend, say, the conservative Republican approach. I don't think this is conservatism, by the way. I think this is populist authoritarianism, and I think it's completely different. But anyway, that you think you would have to try really hard. And I do appreciate your comments here, but I'm quite flabbergasted that you would pick that hill to die on. Like really, you think this is murder? Are you nuts, JP? God, it's not murder, blah blah blah. Rather than go, this is disgusting. I can't believe that they've come to this. Oh my goodness. What a weird psychology it is that the first place to go is to criticize me for calling this murder rather than for criticizing ICE for calling this absolutely fucking horrendous. And I'm getting slightly angry now, and I don't want to, because you're a really great supporter of the channel, Jeff. Although we have our disagreements over political lines, I just find it quite astonishing that the first kind of reaction to this is one of political identity rather than looking at what's going on and wondering whether this is absolutely damn horrific or not. And that makes me quite sad, Jeff, I have to say. Like, with all due respect, and please retort as thoroughly as you can. Please, call me out on this if you think I'm wrong. But let's have a conversation about this, Jeff. I don't want to shut you down or anything, but I just find it quite incredible that's what you think is just crazy here. Come on, JP, rather than come on, ICE. You know, like my first reaction is, come on, ICE, this is nuts. Come on, American government, this is nuts. Rather than, come on, you can't call that murder. You can't call it. Yeah, we can actually. And Rennie Good's been labeled as homicide previously by, as I mentioned, by the Hennepin County Medical Examiner. So, you know, and actually there's been now an autopsy that's been done, an independent autopsy to suggest that is the case, the second and the third shot particularly. And yeah, so, you know, I don't want to scare you off, Jeff. No, please comment. Please, no one kind of go at Jeff. But I'm really interested in from Jeff's point of view. I want to give you a platform here, Jeff, to actually say, you know, why is it that would be the thing that you would concentrate on, just from a psychological point of view. I'm always trying to understand why people say what they do rather than, you know, what they do. You know, but yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go back. Sorry about that sidebar there. We're going to now look at some of the other crazy things that are going on. And again, if you're someone that say, I don't know, I'm not going to say Jeff again, but if you're someone that thinks, right, immigration is a problem, immigration needs to be dealt with robustly, but surely anyone that's sensible about this has to say, but it has to be done within the rules of law, right? And within the confines of the norms and the regulations that are in place from notably the Department of Homeland Security themselves, but also, you know, it has to fit in terms of what the Constitution sets out. Okay, your First Amendment rights, your Fourth Amendment rights, and so on and so forth. And yet, that is not going on. So here we have and this is where it's starting to get worse and worse, because it's looking like the ICE agents are now policing for freedom of speech. So someone like Jeff, for example, well, I'm sure would be a really big advocate of freedom of speech. Now, is this acceptable? That you know, oh, I can't believe you can be arrested in the UK for saying something on Twitter, and these kind of things that we keep hearing. But actually, ICE is doing this.
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present. So I really don't know how to answer that question either
well,
way.
like I said, you're not going
This is freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And
Veteran.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
We're just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person
Okay,
is.
how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
So you don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. And we wanted to get your side. If it was you that posted that, I would think to refer.
I mean, literally, they're going door to door now to talk about what people have posted on social media. Literally door to door. Like, I don't ever want to hear in my life again anyone from the Republican right tell me that freedom of speech is a problem that Europe has. I don't want JD Vance to ever set foot in, well, I don't want him to set foot in Europe again, full stop. But I don't want him to set foot in Europe again at the Munich Security Conference, for example, and denigrate Europe for freedom of speech issues, to say that our issues aren't Russia, they aren't China, they're freedom of speech in your own ranks, and then not say anything about this. I think it's absolutely unconscionable.
For posting things like that, because that could get something.
I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay,
that's it.
That is it. Okay. I'm going to maintain my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether or not that's. I hope that's understood.
So that's a Fifth Amendment right, a First Amendment right, and a Fourth Amendment right in terms of just turning up at her door and in by the looks of it in her property. So that contravenes 3 constitutional amendments there in one fell swoop. I mean, absolutely incredible. But it doesn't stop there. I'm sure, you know, Elon Musk and Barry Weiss would be in shock of this. Yeah, will they? Heck. Let's see what has happened in this.
Try that again.
We're here because of the comments you made online about the Jewish community.
We're here because of the comments you made online about the Jewish community. So you've got tactical gear people turning up without ID on them, and turning up with, I presume, weapons as well. All of that tactical gear. We're here because of something you said about Jewish people online.
So what?
No, I'm saying,
I have a freedom of speech, dude.
Yeah, no, we get that. I get that.
We gotta make sure that you're not. Do you have a warrant?
No, that's why we're.
Yeah, you see that sign? Yeah. So that says no soliciting. What you're doing is basically soliciting. You understand that, right? Yeah. It means you're not welcomed here. Okay. Bye. Okay. Stay off the lawn, please.
Ha. So, wow, absolutely fascinating that you're starting to see this. Now, this is, I think, First Amendment rights violations. We're going to go on to Fourth Amendment rights violations in a second. I just want to deal with a comment that someone has just said that I did catch. And this is maybe fair enough. So Alan MTB says, JP, I don't think Jeff Vida was defending ICE. He was pointing out the contradiction of you criticizing others for reaching a legal determination without any investigation while also doing the same. Yes. And I get that, but I mean, I have done my own investigation and I have seen that video footage and we went frame by frame, and my determination is that's murder, whereas the DHS's determination was doesn't fit with what I can see with my own eyes. So we're getting to a 1984 situation where the DHS is making a determination based on no investigation, or at least if they've investigated, they're lying about what they've seen, because I've seen something that doesn't lead one to that conclusion and cannot lead one to that conclusion whatsoever. So I do understand that, and that's a really interesting point, Alan, and I do take that on board. I just think that okay, you know, instead of me saying it was murder, I should say, in my opinion, it was murder, and that to be more accurate. So in my opinion, it was murder, but also in my opinion, if you think that it wasn't murder, or you weren't, you know, morally offended by what you've seen, I think we may have some issues here where psychology, or motivated reasoning more precisely, is getting in the way of a proper analysis of the data. But anyway, it's a good comment, and thank you for that. I just disagree for the aforementioned reasons. Okay, so we're seeing lots of these different constitutional violations. Here we have another one: 15 agents jump a family's backyard. So with all of what I'm showing you, I'm assuming these claims are true, the videos are true, and they're contextually accurate, etc., etc. So all the caveats apply to all of these sources. But making those assumptions, let's have a look at this. So apparently we see 15 agents jumping a family's backyard fence to detain mum and dad, pointing a gun at US citizen kids. Quote, I see like 15 guys jumping the fence, he said, and they just started attacking me. Agents broke into the house and took his parents, and he still has no idea where his father is. Humberto Garcia says the men were in unmarked vehicles, never showed a warrant, and refused to answer his questions. Quote, I was like, get out of my property, give me a search warrant, and they just started attacking me. Now the 20-year-old is the only one left to care for his 4 younger siblings while trying to figure out how to help his parents. The incident occurred in Donna in Texas, located along the southern tip of the Rio Grande Valley near the Mexico border. And I'll just show you the video from, I believe, within the house of these people. So the Fourth Amendment, in fact, if I get the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution up, just to let you know what it is. Fourth Amendment I can't feel my fingers at all, so typing is difficult. The Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, requiring that warrants be supported by probable cause and describe the place to be searched and items to be seized. Safeguarding personal privacy in homes, papers and effects is a core part of the Bill of Rights, ensuring the government needs strong justification, a warrant for intrusions, though exceptions exist for consent, plain view or exigent circumstances, balancing individual rights with public safety. And of course, none of those exceptions were evident here. I mean, you know, it's not like these guys have got like a massive nuclear bomb and whatever. Do you know what I mean? You don't need a warrant. Quick, get in there. No, these guys are just going about their daily business, and they're jumping the fences and going into the house.
And then I just turn around and I see like 15 guys jumping the fence.
Scary moments for Humberto Garcia as he watched at least a dozen men, some in tactical gear, jump the fence of his family's property. Garcia said it happened last Friday and escalated quickly.
And then I was like, get out of my property or give me the search warrant. And they just started attacking me.
Video shows Garcia being thrown to the ground. He says one of them pulled a gun on him, all while his parents and younger sisters were inside their home near South Victoria Road in Stites.
When they saw me, my two sisters came out and they closed the door. And my younger sister was like, why are you doing that to him?
Garcia says the men were in unmarked vehicles, never show a warrant, and refused to answer his questions. He is an American citizen, but his parents are not. He says both of them were in the process of getting their citizenship. He claims the agents went inside his home and took his mother and father.
I only saw when they took my...
So part of the problem here is the agents, they're supposed to be getting the worst of the worst, but they appear to be getting people who are going through the process of doing exactly what the American government has said they ought to be doing. And this is why it's been absolutely horrific, in my opinion, that ICE have been turning up to courts where people are going to court to follow the rules to get their citizenship and then nicking them at court, right, and taking them down. And you're like, well, hang on, I'm literally going through the process that you have demanded of me, and in order to become an illegal to become a legal citizen of the United States, and you're stopping me from doing that, and you're saying I'm illegal even though I'm trying to be legal here. So it's just this incredible situation. Here we've got another Fourth Amendment violation, in my opinion.
Hi, you have any questions?
I asked if y'all got a warrant and if I could see it. He said no.
So because you're not related to this person, we don't have to
Okay,
show
well,
you
I'm
anything.
here to just observe.
And it's really interesting that so many of these ICE agents appear to have Latino accents. I wonder what is going on there.
I have within my right to do so.
But all that noise, all that stuff like that, you're impeding our investigation.
I don't know what you just said. I don't speak Spanish.
I'm not speaking Spanish.
I just heard your Spanish accent. I don't know what you said.
Listen
You're
to
speaking
me.
entirely too fast. I don't really want to engage with you, honestly.
Just leave.
I'm just letting you know I'm here.
It's for you.
Now, I think she's being pretty racist herself, but maybe trying to make a point. I think as you can see the validity of that in terms of, like, you're coming here and taking people because they've got funny accents. You've got a funny accent yourself. I can't understand you. Why aren't we taking you, type thing?
This is for you to understand. Whistling, making all this noise, impeding our investigation.
How is blowing a whistle impeding?
And by the way, that is not impeding by the DHS's own stipulations.
Listen.
I'm not talking to you. You can get out of my
If
space.
you continue that, we're gonna arrest you. All right? So
Arrest her for what? You're in her, I presume, her collective private property.
this is your first and last warning. Don't do it again. Don't impede. I will arrest you. Only saying it once.
So, but this isn't law and order, Birdie, right? We are seeing that this is not constitutional. They're breaking their own DHS guidelines. And if you think shooting someone that many times when they're on the ground and prostrate, if you think that is law and order, then I'm sorry, Birdie, but you apparently have an inability to properly evaluate data as it meets your retina. Yeah, so yeah, Birdie, yeah, no. So moving on, though, here we have another situation, and again, just like it's the fact is that this is not adhering to law and order. They are breaking the rules in order to get these people. And we're going to look in a second why they do. Well, we already know it's because they have all these bonuses that have been put in place and they don't need to have a final kind of justifiable arrest for these people in order to get the bonus. So they can just go along, collect whoever they like, and then release them later after terrorizing them, and they still get a bonus.
Please, just don't. Please, my God, my kids are in the house.
On his property. On his property. Riot gear, guns.
Step out. You guys. Please, you guys are scaring my kids. My kids. Bring your kids out with you. Okay. Call your kids now. I will. Please. I want to hear my kids. Oh God, you guys don't do this to my kids. My kids. Come on. Oh my God, my kids. My kids are so young. Oh my God. You guys, my kids.
I'm just going to pause this because Birdie's come back to me, and it's a good point. I wasn't speaking about the shooting. You talked about the agents being Hispanic, and this is true. Like, they can be interested in law and order. It's just that I don't think anyone signing up for ICE is interested in law and order. So either they appear to be white supremacists, as we've seen from tattoos, SS tattoos, and all sorts. So there's an ideology there, or they're just desperate to make the bonuses. These people are getting paid good money and they're getting bonuses for taking as many people as they can off the streets, irrespective of whether it's justified to take them or not. And so I don't think these Hispanic people are interested in law and order. I think these Hispanic people and actually all of the agents are interested in making good money. And the thing is that they can make good money. And they've been quite, I don't know if this is clever, but the US is offering these incredible bonuses for these people that allows them to make just stupendous money by going and doing these incredibly divisive things in communities. So as it says here, in Minneapolis, ICE agents are illegally detaining children at gunpoint who are US citizens and taking them as they raid houses without warrants. Now, assuming that's all true, we are just like, this isn't law and order. This is, no one's interested in law and order here. They are breaking the law in order to do these things.
Oh my God, you guys are oh my God. You guys, who else is in the house? Nobody. Oh my God. Why? My son is a citizen. We're citizens. My son is a citizen. We have paperwork. We have all the paperwork.
So on and so forth. We're just like repeatedly seeing stuff like this. Now, here's where it starts getting even more worrying, as if you weren't worried enough, right? An ICE agent here asked why he's taking pictures, why the observer is taking pictures. The ICE agent is asked by the observer why the ICE agent is taking pictures of the legal observer's car. And then he replies, the ICE agent, "'Cause we have a nice little database and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So have fun with that." Okay, so they're now, it appears, collecting data on people who are protesting.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
So they're being told very clearly on camera by an ICE agent that they're taking that data from the protesters, and the protesters are being designated, at least, you know, this guy is claiming, as domestic terrorists. DHS sources now confirms that ICE is creating a watch list of anyone and everyone who films them. Welcome to 1930s Germany. What doesn't the "Don't Tread on Me" crowd think of this one? So ICE is creating a watch list of anyone and everyone who films them. DHS sources tell Ken Klippenstein, the investigative reporter. Here we have another situation, and this was bad enough the other day, but look at all these incredible videos we're watching, and not incredible in a good way. So here is a guy who is already on the floor. ICE agents are on top of him. Don't think he's putting up too much protest now, as in, I'm fairly sure you're going to be able to detain this guy, do whatever you're going to do with him. So then someone walks up with 3 ICE agents on the back of him, people all around with guns, and this guy sprays chemical irritants in his face directly. Sprays chemical irritants in his face directly. And I just want to ask, is this law and order? Like the question is, are you allowed to protest or not? And if you're not allowed to protest, fair enough. You think that the US is somehow an authoritarian state, despite the First Amendment. Like, you can either protest or you can't. And if you can't protest, maybe you can come up with some justification for a guy getting sprayed in the face while 3 agents are on top of him at point blank range, sprayed in the face by chemical irritant. Maybe you can, but even that is a stretch, right? But actually, it is not illegal to protest, and these people are not breaking the law.
What the hell? What are you doing?
And then I presume threatens that woman who's on the floor with getting sprayed in his face. So, and Andrea Pitzer here says, trafficking the boy after using him as bait. So that's a 5-year-old kid. Pinning someone in a slow to spray into their mask. That's a guy we just seen. Shooting Marima Martinez. Murdering Rene Good. And then, of course, we've got the one today. Bovino and Miller are asserting the right to harm anyone they want. The only acceptable response is to make sure they can no longer harm anyone at all. So, what do you do about this? You've got Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor, coming out and saying ICE need to get out of Minnesota. This is beyond reprehensible. Trump administration has just greenlit warrantless home invasions now. So we've seen a bunch of, and unconstitutional stuff, Fourth Amendment and blah, blah, blah. But now we have this idea that actually they're going to start changing the rules so that they don't need warrants. The Associated Press has obtained a leak ICE memo ordering agents allowing agents to force entry into homes using only an internal ICE warrant of removal, form I-205, even without a judge's warrant. That's not law enforcement. That's a Fourth Amendment getting shredded in real time. So ICE, and by the way, just ICE can't unilaterally say this, but they are just saying this. And what they would assume is that people would think that this is a proper warrant and then let people into their houses. And then that gives ICE free rein to do what they want on those properties. But this isn't an official warrant signed by a judge. And this is a mere bodge job done by the DHS there. Here we've got another situation.
I've been sending all the uploads in the chat.
Do not break my fucking window. You guys got into the John is looking at is a black.
Get out of the car. Put the car in park. Get out of the car. Put the car in park. Get out of the car.
Virginia, TBN.
You know the Marine Corps veterans. I don't care what you are. Get the fuck out of the car right now! Get the fuck out of the car!
It's pretty draining watching all this stuff, I have to say. It's just, yeah. So an ICE whistleblower has just revealed a secret memo authorizing ICE officers to break into homes without a judicial warrant, which DHS's own legal training materials say is unconstitutional. ICE then hid the memo from the public, passing it along by word of mouth and private conversation. ICE secretly told its officers that anytime someone has been ordered removed, ICE can break down their door. It has been accepted for generations that the only thing which can authorize agents to break into your home is a warrant signed by a judge. No wonder ICE hid this memo. Chillingly, the whistleblower says that ICE trainers were directed, no paper trail, to train all of ICE's new recruits with these administrative warrants, or that they authorize breaking into people's homes, even though DHS's own training materials still make it clear that that is illegal. The memo cites no legal authority, only a further secret DHS general counsel, replaced in the early days by a Trump loyalist, opinion saying administrative warrants filled out by an ICE officer are sufficient to break into homes of people ordered removed. Here's what such a warrant looks like, and it shows you a warrant. This is a Trump administration trashing the Fourth Amendment in the Constitution in pursuit of its mass deportation agenda. Worse, a footnote to this memo suggests that they won't even rule out authorizing home invasions with no judicial warrant for people not even ordered removed. In short, this secret memo explains so much of what we've been seeing over the last months, including this raid of a home of Minneapolis where ICE officers presented no judicial warrant before breaking in the door. Turns out they were secretly told they didn't need one. In a sign of how explosive ICE knew the secret memo would be, one whistleblower says he was only allowed to read the memo and was barred from taking written notes, and warned that employees had been punished for disagreeing. At least one ICE instructor resigned rather than teach the illegal memo. At the time of unprecedented daily scandals, this whistleblower complaint and the memo it reveals for the first time breaks through for me as beyond the pale. It's a federal government conspiring in secret to subvert the Fourth Amendment, says Aaron Melnick. Looks like Senator Blumenthal's office worked with the whistleblowers and has already put out a letter to the Trump administration demanding answers. Congress must act. This is a five-alarm fire for our basic rights under the law. Senator Gallego weighs in as well. Note that at the start of 2025, he was considered a moderate on immigration and co-sponsored the Lake and Riley Act. Him and many other Dems have been increasingly horrified at what ICE is doing and shifted away from a more enforcement focus. So there you go. That's what's going on as it stands. Now, in an interview on 60 Minutes with an ICE Associate Director, Marcus Charles, he says that any individual that ICE agents encounter in, around, or en route to a target is fair game for an interrogation, leaving the interviewer stunned. So now we have this idea that actually just if you're nearby, we can apprehend you for just no reason at all.
Our officers are conducting targeted enforcement, looking for the worst of the worst. If they encounter anybody in the area of which they're operating, they are okay to talk to those people. They've been authorized to talk to anybody that's around there and establish citizenship.
How is that targeted enforcement?
If they were in that area looking for a target and they were en route or coming from that target and encountered that individual, they are authorized to talk to somebody.
So just like if you've got a targeted individual and you're going either to or from that person, and just any other human you can see, is like you can just interrogate anyone. And what does interrogation mean? Slamming into the ground, pepper spraying them in the face? I don't know.
I mean, how do you define the area? Officers are walking down the street, driving down the street, the entire city of Minneapolis. Is everybody potentially under suspicion?
No, nobody's under suspicion, but we're looking for those targets. And again, if we encounter somebody as we're walking up to a building, as we're en route to that building, that's still part of that operation as they proceed to that target. Our officers are
absolutely incredible. So there we have it. Just a few more. Adam Cochran here saying, hey, DHS Gov, why do you seem to be deploying plainclothes ICE agents in protest crowds? Neither ICE, CBP, nor DHS have the authority to be undercover on duty. They are required by law to make their presence known. This is something we've heard previously, and I reported that in my last ICE video, is that actually we are hearing rumors that they have undercover operatives now, which is not their jurisdiction. They also lack jurisdiction over protests and cannot do regular police work. So need proof the federal government is planting agents in our streets to instigate a confrontation. Here you go, moments ago from coverage in Minneapolis.
That's all they ask. Watch out, watch out. That's all they ask. He's one of us. Okay. He's one of us. Okay, good. You all right, dude? You all right? Come on. He's one of us. How do we know? How do we know? I was with him earlier. Why you get ran out earlier? I don't know. He's one of us. I'm with them. Trust me. He's one of us the whole time. You cut the good. You all right, man? Hey, move back. Move back. All right. Move back right now. Back up. Back up. Yeah, save your Nazi. Put him in your Nazi van. Go get him some help. He needs a little bit of fucking mental health there.
So this guy is like, I'm one of you, I'm one of you, I'm one of you. Then they've obviously been watching this, keeping an eye on this undercover guy. And then the van comes up alongside. They get out the van, get the crowd to dissipate, and then they take the guy back into the van. You know, put an arm around him. You're right, mate. You're right, mate. So that itself is not following law and order, right? It's just none of this is remotely acceptable. None of it. Then we had this video from the other day, which is a guy who was beaten for just protesting.
My car, and I got out of my car with my whistle, and I started blowing my whistle, and then they started macing us, and I didn't do anything but blow my whistle, and the officer punched me in the face, knocked off my glasses, and I was still whistling, and then he punched me again and knocked me down, and then they arrested me.
And DHS stipulates that that is not illegal, what he was doing themselves. Reporting from Wall Street Journal covers the ICE incentive structure. ICE agents get additional rewards based on their arrests. Those rewards count even if the person is released without charges. And you can go and check that in the Wall Street Journal article, The Standoff That Has Turned Minnesota into a Tinderbox. And it's money. It's basically money that is driving a lot of these ICE agents, as well as their own ideology often. Minnesota cops are annoyed, and there have been a number of these cases where Minnesota policemen have been hit by ICE. So these cops are annoyed because the black and brown ones are getting routinely racially profiled and harassed by ICE. So those cops in Minnesota who happen to be people of color are finding they're on the rough end of the ICE stick.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important.
That's it.
In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day.
Now, you've heard the White House say that, you know, for the local police to stand down. There have been calls. Oh, look, here it is. Stephen Miller, only federal officers are upholding the law. Local and state police have been ordered to stand down and surrender. So you've got the Trump White House saying that these policemen and women should just stand down and surrender. What? What are you talking about? Just, this is crazy time that we're living in. So yeah, well, Stephen Miller, I mean, he is your main fascist, really. Now, when it comes to Jonathan Ross, not the TV megastar in the UK, but the guy who shot Rennie Good, this was, how many days ago was this? 18th. This is 6 days ago. This guy shot Rennie Good 3 times, right? Point blank, pretty much. And now he's raised probably now well over $1 million. Hey, I can shoot someone and I get paid for it. That's brilliant. Just unbelievable. Just crazy, crazy. Now, when you have people like Andy Ogles, he's a Republican representative, the guy that actually had the cake of Greenland the other day, was cutting up a cake of Greenland the day before Trump tacoed on Greenland. This is him on Fox News.
So look, you know, when you look at the footage of those folks that stormed that church, if that was a bunch of conservatives, a bunch of MAGA folks, they all been arrested, right? But because they're libtards in a blue city, they get.
So he gets to call people libtards, right? Doesn't get pulled up on it. And yet, goodness me, do you know what happened when Hillary Clinton used the term deplorables? Just like, but it's okay for Republicans to do whatever they want. Rhetorically, right?
Because they're libtards in a blue city, they get a pass. Enough is enough. You have, you know, when you look at ICE, when you look at the difficult.
Yeah. Anyway, trying to justify ISIS activities there. We're almost finished now. Just want to alert you to this as well. And you've got to be really, really worried when the White House, the official White House account is doing this. So they are adapting images and using AI for propaganda, and it is horrendous. So this is, I forget her name, Nikema Levy Armstrong, who was arrested for whatever. And the White House took that picture and turned it into her crying and then put it out. Arrested far-left agitator Nikema Levy Armstrong for orchestrating church riots in Minnesota. They do not care about the truth. They do not care about the truth. This is so disturbing that you're starting to get like the White House official accounts just play fast and loose with reality. It is not cool. Tennessee Hollow here saying not only is it morally repugnant for the White House to use AI to make Armstrong appear to be crying, it also appears to be illegal in case anything, still matters. Just crazy. So the White House, says Daniel Dale, the CNN fact checker, has confirmed its official X account posted a fake image of a woman arrested in Minnesota after interrupting a service at a church where an ICE official appears to be a pastor. The White House image altered the actual photo to wrongly make it seem like the defendant was sobbing. Asked for comment, the White House sent a link to a spokesperson's X post and said, enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue. Oh, that's all right. Memes will continue. That's a good answer. So just the Cornell Law School here has 18 US Code 1001 statements or entries generally, and basically shows in law where you cannot do that. So the White House has broken the law again. And then we've had an independent autopsy of Renee Good that's come in. It's strong evidence against Agent Jonathan Ross, given what it means about the second or third shot through the left side window. It's the second and third shots that make the easiest criminal case of a willful killing. Very legally significant. I'm going to avoid the gory details in these texts. New York Times is also reporting, quote, 2 of the gunshot wounds were not immediately life-threatening. The autopsy found it appears to be a bullet that appeared to go through the left side window that was. So maybe the first 2 shots were not life-threatening, but the third one, or maybe the second one, we can't know which one it was the life-threatening one. And apparently there were claims that she still had a heartbeat still had a pulse sometime a lot later. And this was after they stopped a medical physician from attending her at the scene. So there are theories that, hey, who knows, but she could have survived. But because the physician was not allowed to attend her body, she then died. So anyway, that's where we're at the moment. That's all of my nuggets that I was going to feed you today, and they are pretty poisonous. This is pretty horrific stuff going on, and I have to say it is all together too sickening. I think that's a really good way of seeing it. Like, putting your partisan politics aside, and I'm really sorry if I went too crazy at Jeff earlier and Birdie and whatnot. I do want to generate an environment where we can have conversations where we disagree, but I also like when people knee jerk, I think, to try and support such activities. I find it really egregious, because that's what facilitates getting to the next step. And what we are seeing is one step, no one says anything against it, so you push it to another step. It's all about pushing the envelope. Another step, another step. So we had a murder, I would argue, of Renee Good recently, and then the DHS aren't even investigating it. There's no investigation of the shooting there of Renee Good. And there's just an investigation into her spouse and into the governor and into the mayor, but no investigation of the shooter. And then that pushes the envelope even further. And if nothing's done about that, if Republican lawmakers sit back and let that happen, these people are facilitating the onset of fascism in the United States. And it's that simple. If you don't do anything about it, then it essentially condones that activity and allows you to take the next step. And you put that next foot forward, and you're like, does anyone stop me now? No. Okay. Another step forward. Does anyone stop me now? No. Another step forward. Anyone stop me now? Just one more. Oh, I'm looking down at my feet. Hang on. And one more step. Has anyone done anything? Oh no, I'm looking down at my feet. Where have I got to? Oh, look down that line. You see that line there? See that line I've just crossed? See that? Yeah. It's fascism. It's freaking fascism. I've crossed the line and I've got there and no one stopped me. Each of those steps, I was able to progress, regress. And then suddenly, I found myself as the United States of America in the throes of authoritarian fascism. Something has to stop. Something has to be done. Everything I think here has to stop. It's not about saying immigration should be open borders, do what the hell you want, who cares? No, it's about just the very simple premise of following the rules of law as law enforcers, following the rules of law. If you're police, if you're ICE, if you're FBI, if you're whoever it is, can do what the hell they like, then you are living in a police state. You are living under the throes of an authoritarian regime. So there you go. I hope I've been cogent enough. You know, I'm not feeling my best today, and sorry if I was a bit short with people earlier. I just want to say some thank yous to you guys who have supported the channel. I think Papa Dutch says it best when he says this is an absolute cluster flibbity gibbet. This is an absolute cluster flibbity gibbet, and it really, really is. Kevin Force, thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate it. Papa Dutch says again, there's sufficient evidence for multiple prosecutions. Absolutely, 100%. Daryl Thomas, oh my God, Trump wants a massive uprising so he can implement. So actually, before I finish today, I'm going to talk about what next. So he can implement the Insurrection Act to call the troops causing national outrage. Then he can get troops in all states and announce martial law. And then there are no midterm elections. And I think that is a pretty realistic pathway that we see ICE being part of here, I think. Michael Vuchar, thank you very much for the ATP Geopolitics memberships, mate. Thank you. Rick from the Netherlands, how many illegal immigrants did and does Trump have on his payroll? He loves cheap labor. This has nothing to do with safety. It's political populism. And that's it. It's not law and order. It's not really about, I don't think it's really about immigration anymore. It's about making a pretty penny and being authoritarian and asserting control as they see it, as the Trump administration see it, over libtards. Let's beat the libtards, and that's what's happening here. Rick also adds, when Homeland States their vision is another level than Jonathan giving his analysis, this is no comparison. Is of another level than Jonathan giving his analysis. Sorry, I probably butchered what you said there, but the idea that they've done anything remotely resembling the Department of Homeland Security and analysis and investigation when they put out that statement earlier, I think it's just not true. Alan Dixon says, I think emotions run high when we all witness America slide into extrajudicial action against protesters in cities to create civil tension where there was none previously. Really, really cogent statement there from Alan. And I think, you know, my emotions are running high, but goodness me, I don't even live in that country, right? How would you think if you were the family members of the people who have been killed? How would you think if you were the family members of the people who have been wrongfully detained after ICE jumps over across, you know, fences or takes people off the streets or whatever? You know, just, yeah, goodness. Rick, again, I've seen videos of armed Black Panther members patrolling streets. I saw ICE get verbal, but quickly back off. Have you heard more about this? I did see a video of Black Panthers dressed up with AR sort of assault rifles and whatnot, or similar. And I didn't get a chance to fact check it or see what the context was, but I have seen a video. I don't know whether that is a genuine thing. But of course, that's exactly what ICE would want. That's exactly what the Trump administration would want. I think, as many of you have stated, they are up for a fight. They're up for pushback because then they're justified in getting even more heavy-handed. And if they get even more heavy-handed, then you get martial law, and it's a hop, skip, and a pretty dangerous jump to martial law and no midterms. Because Trump is getting crucified in the polls at the moment. Mitch Mazarel, my Canadian friend, thanks for keeping us informed, JP. We're all on the front lines of this information war, and keeping up with events is crucial. Yeah, and I really want to do another video today anyway. I just wasn't feeling up for it particularly. But then then this happened. I was like, well, I've got most of this stuff already lined up that have been sitting there waiting for me to do a video. Just add a couple more on, and then this all now is really current, and it speaks volumes for what is going on in the United States. And there are so many good and wonderful people in the United States, and I just feel for people who might feel powerless at the moment to do anything about it. The Democrats are, as a party, are unable to really affect any change because they don't hold the House of Representatives, they don't hold the Senate. So people can be really critical of the Democrats, whereas we should be being critical of the Republicans, of the lawmakers who facilitate this, who don't stand up for what is good and right in the United States, that know it's wrong. Like people like Andy Ogles, yeah, batshit crazy, whatever. You're not going to change his mind. He's an idiot, right? But it's all those quiet, those silent Republicans who are sitting there too scared to do anything. And there's been a lot of talk about this recently. I said, I discussed this in a video yesterday with people saying that, yeah, there are aides who have come out and said my representative is too afraid to say anything, and they're really frustrated of the lack of spine for the Republicans who allow this to happen. So yeah, we can be critical of the Democrats, and I'm sure they're doing, they're shouting as much as they can, but can they shout louder? Yeah, probably. Should they shout louder? Yeah, probably. But let's not try and kind of victim blame too much here. Let's actually look at the people who are allowing this to take place by creating a framework of subservience, by creating a framework of never standing up for what is right, for your own sense of morality here, and just thinking, well, I won't win in the midterms, or Trump's going to assassinate me on Twitter or whatever. Do the right thing, mate. There are other jobs you can do. I'm sure if you're a lawmaker, you can end up lobbying somewhere and getting paid even more. But it's just, yeah, this is unconscionable, this stuff. Anyway, that's enough from me. I mean, it looks like we still got the whole not murder. Yeah, okay, let's have that argument rather than AP 5906 go, oh yeah, it was horrific. Yeah, I'm really sorry that happened. But by the way, I don't think it's technically murder. It's not murder. And then you just know that is, I think that this is just a troll, which is, someone we've never seen before. Not murder. Yeah, whatever, Ivan. So Ivan over in Moscow says, yeah, it's not murder. Okay. If that's your go-to, your initial response to this, then I'm afraid you don't really have a heart. You have a trip to the Wizard of Oz. Maybe get your heart back or something. Alsace or Alsace, 1977, green card holder with UK and German citizenship. Is it time to plan for an exit strategy from the US? Major challenges, gainful employment, and getting set up with a home. I mean, here's the problem: is like, we all. I think about this with regard to Russia. Like, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, why don't you protest against this? And then for the Russians who do, then they end up in a gulag and disappear for 10 years. It's like, well, if you've got dependents, if you've got family, it's like, I can understand why Russians might not come out in the streets and rally against the war in Ukraine. Is that the case in the United States? No, hopefully not yet. So now is the time to mobilize, to protest, certainly, shout about it online. That's an easy thing to do. But then look at it. They're sending people around to people's houses. So crazy times. But, get in contact with local activist groups, find out what you can do to help at the midterms. There are so many ways maybe that people can help. Good luck to you, is all I can say, and whatever you choose. Right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to get back to my missus and sit there with a bowl at my feet, just in case norovirus gets the most of me tonight. Take care, everybody, and spare a thought for the family of the guy that's been shot today. It's it's pretty horrific stuff. All the best, Toodle Pips, and thanks to all the mods, and thanks to all the super chatters and supporters of the channel. Big love.